Live from the chicken wing capital of the world, Buffalo, New York. You're listening to the Childcare Bridge podcast, your source for the best tips, tools, and tactics on how to market and grow your childcare center, ensuring total domination. Total domination. This is the Childcare Bridge, and this is your host, Michael Tasner.
Hey there, and welcome to this week's episode of the Childcare Bridge. Today's topic is a little bit more of a deep dive into what makes up the overarching culture at your center. So last week, I published an episode that was starting to talk about retention secrets and some of the hiring secrets. So some of the things that I'm really starting to see take a lot more of importance in the industry. Now, from a hiring perspective, right now, pay, the amount of money that a teacher, a director, a chef can make is among the most important aspects. However, the culture side of things can then be the icing on the cake to recruit that candidate. And it can also be either the icing on the cake if things don't go perfectly as planned. So it could also be the icing on the cake if there's some chaos at your center, if there's a little bit of turnover, if some families come or go, that if there's a strong culture at your center, that can help kind of keep people at bay from then making that next move of, well, now they decide to resign, and you get into that revolving door. Now, on the flip side, after someone has been hired, that culture aspect, if you do not have a good company culture, and we're going to talk about what good actually means, that is one of the number one reasons why people are coming in and leaving quickly. They're agreeing to a certain amount of money. They know what the pay is up front. They know the benefits. They know the hours, the time off. So as long as that is very similar to what you've promised, and when I say very similar, as long as you're not taking anything away from them, they will kind of start getting their feet wet and learning about your organization and diving in and doing whatever they can. But if someone comes in, and let's just say it's a teacher, and let's just say that you're paying $20 an hour. Some of you might be like, oh my gosh, that's insanely high. Some of you might think it's low, but let's just go with the $20 an hour. It's a nice amount of money for a teacher that may not have a lot of credentials. So they come in and maybe they were making $15 an hour or $16 somewhere else. So it's a really nice jump for them. It's an extra few $100s every single week, and that starts to add up. But let's say in the first week, they learned that some of the aspects of the culture are, well, we said it's going to be 8 hours, but really it's like 8 hours and 40 minutes. And oh, by the way, that extra 40 minutes usually isn't paid. Oh, by the way, part of the culture is the director. You really can't talk to him or her on Friday mornings, Wednesday mornings, Monday mornings. Like, they're just not approachable, and it's not going to be a good thing if you do. And yeah, we talked about doing some free food, but that's really only at the holiday party. So if you start to find some things out, and if you put yourself in a new employee's shoes, those first couple of weeks, they're starting to feel people out. They're starting to feel out, did they make the right move? Do they have a little bit of remorse? Are they like, oh my God, I really made the right decision? I have a new team member that started a few days ago, and she just shared with me 20 minutes before starting this podcast that even on day 3, that she can tell that the culture here that she's had over the course of 3 days and the people is far superior than the last organization she worked with over the course of a year and a half. In 3 days. So your culture, if she would have told me the opposite, I'm meeting these people, they're rushing off calls, they're not seemingly interested in what I have to say, I'm not loving that vibe so far. If she were to say that would be a completely different story. So how do you start to get to the bottom of, is your culture helping or hurting your recruiting and your retention? I am a huge fan of 100% anonymous surveys. We do a survey every single month, like clockwork. We ask about their happiness. Is there anything that we can do to help you? And there's different questions every month that pull things out of them that are going to elicit a response that's just not a yes or no. Now, we have some things that we want to numerically grade. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your current happiness in your career? 1 to 10. And we monitor that religiously. Other things might, so how would you describe the culture? What have you done on a bad day here? What constitutes an amazing day for you? Just starting to pull different questions that people can give some feedback on. When you put this together initially, I will tell you that it probably is going to sting. It's probably going to hurt, because you're probably going to see and hear things that you didn't think were happening. Any organization that I've done consulting for, usually I'm going in as a marketing consultant or a kind of overarching business consultant, but a lot of times it's marketing. Can you analyze our marketing? Can you audit it? Let's see what's working, what's not working. Well, one of the things that I have to do when I'm going through that audit is I need to get to know the team members a little bit. And you might have really poor marketing, but when I get to the team interviews, I start to find out, well, your head of marketing absolutely hates it here and feels that she's underpaid by $50,000 a year. And she kind of, in less words than more, admitted she only works maybe 10 hours a week. You need to have the people side of any data that you're starting to look at. If there's humans that are involved in a particular process, you need to get to know them a little bit. So I always start even any marketing consulting relationship with sending an anonymous survey to the marketing team. Do you feel supported? Do you know what the brand is? And I have a whole bunch of questions. But it's very, very similar to doing a culture survey. So the first thing that I need you to do is to actually do this culture survey, this culture audit, and know that you're going to see some things that are going to sting. The second thing, and this is far more important than anything else, and this is where most center owners get things wrong. You get this survey back, and it tears you to shreds. We have uncomfortable chairs. We were promised free lunches on Fridays. We've only had that 2 times. We were promised raises, all these things that they're going to most likely let loose on you. Your job is to do a couple of things. Number one, after you get the feedback, you need to have a meeting with your team and openly share the feedback. Now, the reason that you want to do that, instead of making it quiet, is that you want the team to know all of the different things that were said, because quite frankly, they're going to be telling each other anyway. So I said this and that, and let's see if they actually do anything about it, which we're going to come back to in just a second. But during that meeting, I want you to go through the feedback, and I don't want you to be doing eye rolls, which I have a bad problem of doing at times, and saying, well, I can't believe you guys said that. You're going to say, well, I want to have an open discussion, and let's discuss the feedback together. And that open discussion, at the very least, starts to show that you're receptive. You've read all this over. It didn't just fall on deaf ears. It was read, you looked at it, and now, great, let's have a meeting, and you're going to air your dirty laundry to the team. And you could start with saying something like this. So I've had a chance to look at everything on here. I've read every word, every piece of feedback. I thought that, and you might, depending on the feedback, you might, so I thought that we had a better culture than we did. So clearly we have some work to do, but what I wanted to do was have a discussion with all of you. I want to ask a couple of questions. And then what I'm going to do as the owner, the leader, I am going to take this back and I'm going to start to put an action plan together to present to you. And I'm going to find a way to start addressing these things swiftly. The actions are going to speak much louder than words. Most organizations will do surveys, people read it, life goes on. I can give you a first world example of a survey that was done at an organization I was with. The owners read it and they went on a rampage to figure out who actually said what. And it was the opposite of everything that they should have done. It blew up in their face. They didn't make any changes. They took everything offensively, literally did the exact opposite. And I can tell you that company has a revolving door. Complete revolving door, the worst culture that I've ever seen in any organization in my 20 plus years in business. Terrible culture. And I suggested one of the first things they do when I went in to help as a consultant was this culture survey. And it came back disastrous. Happiness was like a 2 out of 10, like a 1 out of 10. How would you likely to refer this company to someone else? Like, it was the worst feedback that I've ever seen, ever. Now, they could have started to turn things around if they started to show some action and admit, hey, this is the feedback. You guys, I didn't realize that a lot of you are unhappy. I got to make some changes swiftly. So here's what I'm committed to doing, and here's the timeline. And that is the key. I can't do everything on this list, but it seems like a lot of you talked about free lunch Fridays, and that little thing, I was supposed to be doing that for you. And life got busy, things got in the way, and I didn't make it happen for you. So that little thing I have now delegated to our admin. Every Friday there will be a different lunch for you, and you can let me know you can let the admin know which places you like the most, and we'll make sure that you have a nice lunch as a small thank you from me every Friday. That will start tomorrow, for example. Starting to show that you're then, okay, great. So, and I know it's a small thing. So that's one thing that you then would tackle. And then you might say, okay, great. So here's the next item. A lot of you have asked and said, hey, we are looking for a raise. And I get it. I want to take a raise as well. Let me show you what you guys can do to help us so that I can make it easier to give you a raise. We need some help on the enrollment side. We need help here. And you can start to and have it be more interactive. So when you get that feedback, you need to go into action mode and start to see what things can start to impact your center's culture in the right direction. Now, there's a lot of different things that go into culture, but the culture for me, it's a lot of the unwritten things. It's what do people say behind your back when you're not around about the business? Are the people friendly? The service? What does the company stand for? How would they react in a situation? If the owner was away, would the team know what to do? How would the team do if the owner was away? What's the happiness level of people? What are they saying to their friends about where they work? There's a lot of these different things that go into the culture. Do they actually have fun? Is it a fun place to work? Now, having core values is another video that I'll go through and I'll talk through, but core values are another aspect that make up your culture. Life is short is one of our core values. Have fun. Life is short. So if you were then to ask every one of our team members, are you guys living out that core value, yes or no? I would guess that almost everyone, if not everybody, would say yes. You could say, well, tell me how. Well, we have happy hours that are virtual. We have random jokes, like people are encouraged to be silly and fun and different. So if we're not living out the core values, that goes back into the culture aspect. Well, they're really not authentic culture. It's just stuff on paper. Culture are the actions, the different things that are being done. Is it a great place to work? It is so much easier for you to gain and retain better people if you have a good culture. Because when you have a good culture, people will go on Indeed and Glassdoor. They'll go on Google business profiles and leave 5-star reviews and say, it's an amazing place to work. They might say, well, I don't make the most amount of money that I could make anywhere. I love these 5 things about the culture, about the company. When people are looking at switching jobs, they're going and reading reviews. They're not just taking jobs that are offering the highest salaries. And if you're at that place again where you don't have the highest offer, if they go and they read a whole bunch of reviews that are all positive, that's going to help move them along in the right direction. So once they're there again, and then as long as those actions, that culture that was written about is authentically happening within your organization, it'll be a very congruent experience. When they come in thinking one thing and you provide something totally different, that's when, again, things start to go awry. Expectations versus reality. I expected, after reading about the culture and having the owner tell me this is what it's like to work here, that these couple of things would be happening. That once a quarter they were going to do this, they have an open door policy, casual dress code, free lunch Fridays, fun holiday party, referral programs, other ways to earn more money, and then you get there and then you start asking about things. So going back to the company that I did the survey for, it all these things, you're going to get this benefit, that benefit. Life insurance, for example, was one of them. A 401k program was another one. Well, people started writing in the survey, I don't even know where the 401k program is or if it even exists. They were writing in all their job ads for years that there was a 401k program. Well, one didn't even exist. So how is that for a new person when they come in, they're used to 401ks and used to having some kind of company match, and the company says, well, we don't have that, we're working on it. Like, completely different experience. And that was what was happening at that organization. So as long as your actions, your words are matched with things that are reality, you'll be able to start to move things in the right direction consistently. So to recap your action, step 1, you're going to do what I would call a culture survey. And you're going to ask about happiness. You're going to ask what they like, what they dislike, what needs to change, how do they talk to their friends about where they work. And it should be 100% anonymous. Step 2, you're going to review that feedback with the team, and you're going to be open and honest, and you're not going to be taking offense. You're going to say, I got it. Like, we're a people-driven business. I want to make sure that I turn things around. And you're going to share the good and the bad. And then from there, you're going to start to demonstrate by actions with dates. these are the 10 things that you guys asked for or wrote about most consistently. These 3 will be done within 30 days. I'll let you know when the first one is done. I already promised you free lunch Friday. Expect there to be lunch tomorrow, and then every Friday and going forward. When you start to show them your actions, you can turn the culture like that. You can change things on a dime. But if you don't take the actions, if you don't start moving that needle, you'll continue to have the revolving door. You'll continue to have problems hiring, because then those people will leave. They'll leave negative reviews, and you won't be able to get those people back in the door. The culture aspect to people hiring and retention cannot be discounted. Tune in next week. As always, Michael Tasner signing off. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. I'll see you next week.